Hi guys, how you doing? Have you ever had a game of chess where you resigned and after resigning had your opponent telling you that you had a draw or even a win? If that happened to you, you probably know that it's extremely painful or frustrating. But on the other hand, let me tell you that this is something that has happened and happens even on the best players in the world. So today we're going to check a few examples and try to understand why this happens. So the first position is from a game between Kramnik and Svidler that was played in 2004. So in this position it is black to play, and who is Svidler, and he surprisingly resigned in this position. So if we check the position, we know that black is pawn down. He's definitely worse. Also the a5 pawn is under attack, so this might become a target, and might fall very soon. But on the other hand, we know that there might be some resources for black here because there are opposite color bishops. So in this case, since black has a dark square bishop, he can control the advance of white's pawns more easily because there's no counterpart, there's no dark square bishop for white. So even in these endings, the weaker side can be 2 or sometimes even 3 pawns down and still draw. So it is quite surprising that Svidler resigned here. There might be different reasons. One of them is that he probably respects Kramnik a lot because he's a very good endgame player. And in this position, he probably was afraid that he might lose another pawn, or get a very bad position with his king. So here the endgame is quite complex. So what I want to show here is that black had a draw, and first I want to show you the clearer way, which is to give the a5 pawn and try to stop white king from going to the king side later on. So as I said, in this position, if black is 2 pawns down, but let's say if we forget about the king side pawns, we forget about these pawns and only check the other pawns on the queen side, black is able to stop them. So if we can imagine the king on b6 with the bishop, let's say the bishop can control c5 or a5 just by moving from one diagonal to the other. So here's the plan, which is just to basically coordinate the pieces, give the pawn and coordinate the pieces to stop white from entering the king side. So the idea was to play, let's say, a waiting move like bishop e3, and after bishop a6, just given the a5 pawn, and here played the king to c5. So we see that black is now opposing kings. So after a move like bishop to b5, bishop e1 check, king a6. Now black will still try to prevent the king from going to the king side. So after bishop d2, king b7. So the alternative here is to play a5, and here black can wait with bishop to c3 because now the king cannot move because the pawn will fall. So after king b7, bishop to a5, king c8, and here I would like to ask you to pause the video and find the best move for black. So here, as we said, black wants to stop the king, white's king. So the move is king to d6, and we can see that the square is controlled by the bishop, and the king cannot move further. So basically, black is controlling the 2 pawns and also preventing white's king. So this is one of the ways to draw. Probably it was not easy, and one of the points that we will see on another examples here is that even though if black couldn't see the draw clearly, I think that resigning so early was definitely not a good idea. And even if black was losing, still playing on to make to give the white the chance to make a mistake was another idea. So there's another point that I want to check here, that in this position where black resigned, probably what Svidler was afraid of was that if he defended the pawn, which is very natural, after a move like c5, king d7, so basically now white can push the pawn, and after pushing the pawn to c6, then the white king can go to the queen side. So, and the point is that now black is busy on the queen side, and white will win the h6 pawn. But even in this position, of course, this is like 12 moves further from the position where Svidler resigned. So here, as far as I could analyze, black could still hold the position with a move with the bishop to h4. Still, the ending is a bit more difficult because it's black is kind of busy on the queen side and the king side. So he has to black has to be preventing some h4 ideas to create another pass pawn. So, and the main point is that if white has the pass pawns that are further away, they are stronger compared to the a and c pawns. But as far as I could analyze here, again, this is a complicated ending. Black could still hold the position. So in this position, we see that even if white manages to prepare the move h4 and play it, we reach a very similar position where black is holding on the queen side, and we exchange a few pawns on the king side. So now we're going to check another example, which is the game played between Deep Blue and Garry Kasparov in 1997 in a match that they played. So this is a computer against one of the best players ever. So this is quite an impressive example because here we're talking about a human versus a computer. So this is a position where black, the human had resources that normally another human would give. So again, here probably it was a matter of lack of confidence or a lot of respect to the opponent. So here Kasparov resigned. Again, the position is very, very complicated. So here the move queen to e3 was a draw, or at least would keep the game going. So one of the main points here is that okay, so white is attacking the bishop and the queen. So if black exchanges queens here after d takes c, the position is basically positionally lost, and white will continue with moves like rook to a7, bishop d5. So if if black plays a move like rook to c8, stopping the planning to meet rook to a7 with rook to c7, here white could play rook to a5 and again get a pawn and two passers here. And if black plays rook to b8, then after rook to a7, king f8 and rook d7, this pawn will move forward. So here the move queen to e3 was the saving move, and after queen takes d6, here's the very difficult move that probably Kasparov missed. So if you can pause the video and try to find it. So in this position, a move like queen takes e4 would lose after rook a7, king g8, queen takes b8, king h7, and queen b6. So now the queen is coming back and will stop any idea of perpetual check. And after queen to f4, now here trying to give the perpetual check. So the idea is correct, but not the execution. So after bishop to f3, queen c1, king f2, queen d2, king g1, queen c1, king h2, queen f4. So here white had the move g3 to stop the perpetual. So this is probably what Kasparov saw during the game, which is still a lot of moves ahead. And after queen takes f3, queen c7, so here white would take the rook and then defend with rook to a2. So there's no more checks on the second rank anymore. So here the move was a quiet move, which is sometimes difficult to play when you're a rook down, which is rook to e8. And here the position, so basically black saves the rook and now prepares to give perpetual. So here and also is attacking the bishop. This is quite important. And here the position will continue or be a perpetual. So if bishop to f3, then we have the perpetual. And after queen d7 check, rook e7, queen c6, then queen takes e4, the game would continue. So the position is quite complicated, but probably white has the chances, but as far as I could analyze, it's still balanced. And here's our final example. It was a gameplay between Anish Giri and Samuel Shankland this year. And here after the move b6, Shankland resigned. And to his surprise, Giri told him that the game was a draw. So that must have been a very unpleasant experience. So basically here there's a resource. So this is something that still a lot of resources we can find in the ending. Sometimes it's stalemate or fortress, for example. And here the idea is that okay, black is losing the knight because the knight is being dominated by the bishop, and we know that bishop and a pawn against a pawn normally is an easy win, unless you know we have here the a pawn and we have the wrong color bishop. But here in this case it looks fairly easy, but here black had the idea to go with the king to c8 and force a stalemate if white wants to progress. So we can check the idea. So the king is going back to c8, and after king g4, king d7, king takes, king c8. Here comes the move bishop to f4, which in a way is relevant, seems to be relevant, because in this position, so if white plays king to g4 after king b8, or let's say bishop d4, king a8, now at least it's easier to see that white cannot progress in this position, because if he wants to try to get the pawn, he will have to come with the king, and this will stalemate black. But as we can see, this idea is similar with the king on c8, with black's king on c8, because if the b8 square is controlled with the bishop, then the stalemate idea is pretty similar. So as we can see, after bishop to f4, king d7, basically black will stay with the king near c8, and in this position, I mean, there's no way for white to progress. So if you tries again king c5, for example, then king d7, and the king just can't go through the a file. So after king to e7, this is a stalemate. So if you had this problem of resigning, giving up too early, so then I suggest that you analyze your games, all of those games where you have this problem, and just try to find the reasons why this happened. You know, it could be, for example, was it a lack of ending knowledge? Was it just a tactical oversight in a variation? Did you misevaluate a position? Generally speaking, probably you thought that you could be checkmated when there was not enough material, for example. Or is it more than one reason? So is it ending knowledge plus miscalculation? So if we check the first example, I would say that it was mainly a misevaluation. So black just judged this ending wrongly, generally speaking. Or at least he was extremely pessimistic about his chances. If we check this position, the second game, the saving idea is pretty clear, because black pretty much doesn't have anything else to do. So here was, I would say, mainly the missing just one very key move, which is the move rook to e8. So here was the main reason was miscalculation. And if we check the last example, I would say that it was mainly lack of ending knowledge. Also, I would like to highlight that in many games, the ending is played with very little time, so it's very important to have this knowledge in advance, because otherwise it becomes very hard to calculate this position or evaluate it on your own with just a few minutes on the clock. So in addition to analyzing your games, and for your future games, I suggest that you do not resign too early, ever, if you don't see a very clear and easy way for your opponent to beat you. And here comes another clarification: no matter how strong your opponent is. So this is, or how confident he looks on the board, just don't resign if you don't see a very clear reason why you should resign. Because as we could see in the examples, probably, you know, respecting your opponent too much could be harmful, because at least in the first example where Svidler resigned, just being a pawn down in an opposite color bishop, I think he probably would not do that with other opponents. So also Kasparov resigning against a computer, so he probably not do it easily against other opponents. So just don't respect your opponents too much. Basically, just resign if you see a very easy way for your opponent to beat you. So I hope that you liked the video. Feel free to give it a like if you enjoyed it, And last but not least, if you have any friends who have this problem when they play chess, feel free to share the video with them. So thanks a lot guys, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye bye.